What? There wasn't an alternate ending for The Last of Us 2? That sounds way better than the one they chose. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is all true, and I'll explain why from the official words of the director himself. Yes, director himself, Neil Druckmann. So you know what, without wasting any more time, let us begin. So as you all know, The Last of Us Part 2's ending was controversial in it of itself. The game started controversially and it ended controversially. So Abby killed Joel because Joel killed her father in Fireflies a long time ago. And then Ellie, throughout the entire game, started to hunt down Abby, killed every last one of them in that room. No mercy, even killed a pregnant lady. But you know what? To be fair, she didn't knew about it. She realized it later, but no regrets, ladies and gentlemen, at least not for me. And then she just let Abby go. The game shows you that Ellie, at first, she, after learning the truth from Joel himself, realized she could never forgive Joel for what he's done. Then slowly, few times later, maybe years passed on, I think they said 2 years after that truth reveal, she started to finally come to terms to try to forgive Joel for everything. When Joel is dead, she started to feel bad for herself in a lot of ways. There are a lot of feelings going on both for Ellie, Abby, and there's just so much going on. I don't have to go into that because you can play the game, watch the story, you will know what those feelings are. Either way, when she gets to Abby, she finally gets her hands on her. She finally gets her in a position where she can kill and avenge Joel. She doesn't, because quote unquote she realizes in order to move on, she gotta forgive Joel first. But in order to forgive Joel, she gotta forgive Abby for the things she's done to Joel, because in terms of and in perspective of the writers, they feel like Ellie has to realize, because quote unquote it is her character to forgive Abby in this specific case, because she now understands why she did whatever she did. But that's besides the point. Now, Indiewire.com, they had this really cool interview with Haley, the co-writer, and Neil Druckmann about the entire game. They talked about spoilers, and I would highly recommend you guys to check that out. I'm gonna specifically choose 3 questions specifically because those interest me. Tomorrow I will go through the entire interview, so watch out for that. The structure you settled on, especially with the very last flashback, makes the game feel like it's the story of Ellie painfully coming to the point where she understands why Joel saved her and is able to forgive him. Now, Haley responded with, I think that's right, and I also think it took her 2 years to come to the place where she could even consider embracing forgiveness with Joel. Ellie's path to forgiving Abby is by far a much harder journey. No shit, Abby has wronged her in the deepest of ways. Right when she says, okay, I'm ready for the challenge of forgiving Joel, it's like, no, your challenge is now going to be escalated in a way that could lead you to your own destruction and the destruction of the people you love. And are you going to be able to get there in time? So she's talking about how if you don't stop this quote unquote revenge cycle, they'll come after you, after the people you love, and they will keep going. They come after their loved ones and they will go back and forth. So it's a cycle of thing that we already know is gonna happen regardless of whether you have any personal history or not. It's a common thing in a world like The Last of Us and even The Walking Dead. And she gets there just in the nick of the time. We're talking about the ending. She travels all the way to Santa Barbara just to let Abby live, to save her life even. Abby's decision to heed Lev's caution and spare Ellie is similarly abrupt but understandable. Were you nervous about selling those key moments? Now, they're talking about, of course, when Abby didn't kill Ellie and Dina. That was brutal. That was the peak moment. I was like, no. But this game is for me. There are so many emotional parts of the game that for a long time didn't land, and every time it's so daunting to make them work. So often it's just the iterative process of creation and cutting out a bunch of stuff that we realized wasn't necessary. What comes to mind right now is Joel's death. It comes to mind the entire story. In the first edit of that scene, you felt nothing. Ellie's being held down. This is the deleted scenes, by the way, they're talking about. Ellie's being held down and Joel's looking at her, and we had this idea of like, oh man, Joel's brain is so freaked up at that moment that the only word that's coming out of his mouth is his daughter's name, Sarah. It felt powerful, but then Troy Baker, the one who played Joel, to his credit was like, I don't think he should say anything. We shot both versions and Troy was right, the scene was stronger without it. So the original scene was supposed to be him saying Sarah as he sees Ellie and Sarah as one, both as his daughters, and seeing her being pinned down over there, not being able to do anything, not knowing, will she live, she forgives me, was I enough for her, whatever. And now the edited scene is like he says nothing. This was his last words, because his last words now to Ellie Then Goro said, or Haley, we used to have 5 days in Seattle for each girl instead of 3. Then Druckmann said, there was a whole side story where Ellie went to the Seraphites Island, and we have so much more to say about Seraphites and Ellie's journey there, and she's going through like the different layers of hell, and she still keeps going forward. Now, I personally, after seeing the entire thing, I really wanted Ellie's journey to be extended in the Seraphites part, because Abby's story was, even though I didn't like Abby, her story there was really looking kind of clean. So I really wanted Ellie to be there and to extend that journey, but you know what, it is what it is. Then here comes a bombshell that really blew me away. Haley said, quote, Joel had a girlfriend. The ending was different. Excuse me, what? We were supposed to see Joel's girlfriend in a flashback or something? Sign me up. How do I get those deleted scenes? I need that. Then, continuing. In the farm sequence, you can find an entry in Ellie's journal where she writes about killing this boar and how it makes her feel. We shot cut scenes for that. There was a whole playable sequence of her hunting down a boar, and it was awesome, but we felt for pacing and production purposes, it was just better to remove it. Art was done, and Ashley Johnson gave a great performance of how she kills this boar and everything. We can move on. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the important question of them all. Ellie leaves behind the guitar that Joel gives her. I assume it's not just because Abby chewed off 2 of the fingers Ellie needs to make the chords. Haley said, for me, Ellie is putting the idea of Joel to bed. She's burying him respectfully at that point and moving on to a new chapter in her life. Oh, I'm sure you do, Haley. I'm sure you do. Whatever that might be. See? I'm telling you, her tone... Okay, but he is in the rear view mirror when she leaves the house at the end. You know, I read the entire interview, and this is just my opinion, maybe reading her completely wrong, or maybe judging her for no apparent reason. I should be wrong, and if I'm wrong, call me out. I will apologize. But it feels like ever since Haley joined the writing team, it's just that she wanted to just move the story direction away from Joel and Ellie so badly that her words, even before and after the release, is just like, oh, Joel is in the past, oh, we are moving from Joel. And you've seen in the Inside the World or behind the scenes, she says how Neil Druckmann was so keen on honoring Joel and Ellie. What about you? This story is The Last of Us. You never said that for me this story is Joel and Ellie too, and I want their story to get more side. But no, but you know what, it is just my personal opinion. But here comes the ending, ladies and gentlemen. Druckmann said himself, whatever we say here ultimately doesn't matter. Everything you need to understand the story is in the game, and whatever players take from it, their interpretation is right, at least until if we ever make another game, and then we can argue about it then. But personally, to me, Ellie's finally able to get past her ego and this whole obsession. We can see that. We would often use the metaphor of talking about her revenge as a drug and Ellie as a kind of drug addict, and that's ultimately why Dina left. She's like, this girl's hit bottom and it's still not enough. I can't help her anymore. And you know what, can you blame Dina? She's a mother now. She has a child. What are you talking about? Ellie, she never moved on from Joel. She never moved on from everything that has happened in that room that night, especially considering that she opened up to Joel about how she's going to try to forgive Joel, and then the next day this happened. Can you move on from sequence of events like that? I don't think so, and not to mention she's still 19, so there you have your answer. Quote, also I should say that for more than 50% of the production, Ellie used to kill Abby at the end. Yep, which gave a whole different kind of feeling to the ending, no shizzle. And then another character would have to stop the cycle of violence. But at the same... Okay, let's just stop right there. In the original script, she was supposed to die. More than 50% of the production, she was dead. Ellie killed Abby. We got our revenge. Ellie finally realized that there was no point in killing and revenge and all of that violence and all of the massacre she's done. I am fine with that. Can you imagine if she had killed Abby, then felt bad about it, and what she's done to Joel for 2 years, not forgiving him, and then knowing that all Joel did was try to protect her and that her killing Abby wasn't good enough. Then she leaves the guitar and finally move on and forgives Joel, and putting her violent self, her violent ego that they talk about, to bed and moving on. Can you imagine how awesome that the story would have been? But no. But there's more. But at some point through our conversations about Yara and Lev, we came to the realization that it wasn't as honest as Ellie's character that way. Deep down inside there's goodness there. Hopefully she can go forward and build her life. So the entire interview is about about how there were people there. Marlene made decisions in the first game. Tess, then Joel, Maria, Dina, Jesse. All these people made decisions for her in these tough times, and now that those authorities have been taken away, she realized slowly how she needs to make decisions on her own, and they're using that as an excuse that on going on this hunt for revenge, hunt for Abby, doing this violent stuff, continuing the cycle of violence. She realizes that it's her choice now. Joel made his choice. I'm suffering for the consequences. I gotta stop this. And they're like, she represented hope in the first game, and now she realized at the end that she still needs to be that hope for the world or whatever, and that's why she didn't kill Abby. The entire time, Ellie's character deep down died with Joel in that room, but she slowly founded herself back when she was killing and drowning Abby in that ending. What do you think about it, boys? I think it's just that I would have preferred the original ending of killing Abby. If they wanted to kill Joel in the first 2 hours, at least give us the satisfaction, or Ellie the satisfaction, of killing Abby at the very least. Now the part 3 is more than likely to happen. Lev and Abby, that story is going to continue if Last of Us franchise continues. Trust me, it's going to happen. And I'm personally not gonna like it that much because to me they just ruined Abby for me. But if they want to make a DLC, give me Ellie at the very least to continue the story. Give me Ellie to find a cure herself for the humanity. That's the story I could get behind. But ladies and gentlemen, that would do it for this video. Remember to give this video a like and share your thoughts and opinions about what do you prefer in terms of the ending. Are you preferring the ending that we got or the original ending that was supposed to be out there? Either way, I'll see you boys on the flip side.